Yes, yes, people, it's your boy Si, aka the Mangunian. Welcome to a Gunner Talk. Again, I know it's been a couple of weeks since I've done my last one. I would like to do more regularly, guys, but it's just time, and also I'm not feeling it at the minute. I'm really not. Arsenal at the moment are the last thing I really want to talk about. I'm trying to, I wish I had one of those Men in Black pens and just erase the sort of last 2 years. Maybe even erase the last 10. I've not had anything particularly positive to say for quite a while, and it's getting worse. It's not getting any better. Today I just wanted to talk about a few things. I'm not going to talk about the games that have gone. I've not been doing any player ratings because they're going to be awful. I've got nothing really positive about performances to say whatsoever, so I've just been swerving those, so that's why you've had no content from me. So today I'm just going to talk about the manager situation at the moment. Just have a little discussion about that and a few other things, maybe possible potential managers who might come in, and just weighing those up, the different sort of categories that we've got and we were maybe looking at. I just wanted to start off, I posted it before the Southampton game, and we saw those comments about he's got 6 games to turn things around. And I said, if you look at those games, Southampton at home, Frankfurt at home, Norwich away, Brighton at home, West Ham away, Standard Liège away, we're not going to learn anything in those games. Judge him on the 6 games after that, which is City at home, Everton away, Bournemouth away, Chelsea at home, United at home, Palace away. I don't see us getting a point from any of them 6 games. I don't. And I said, if you look at the next 10 league games, I asked people, how many points do you think we'll get? And I said 6. And I got absolutely lambasted for it. People absolutely hammered me, calling me every name under the sun. I'm negative, I'm just being downbeat about things, and I took a lot of stick over it. But then I asked you guys, rather than just abuse me and call me names, tell me why you believe differently. I'm open. That's why I posted it. I wanted to have a discussion about it. I appreciate that some of you are eternal optimists and you'll say 20 plus, but that's based on opinion. I didn't base mine on opinion. I based them on facts, which is, from 20 games now, we've took 20 odd points. So if you keep running at those sort of numbers, we'll get around 6 to 8, maybe 6 to 10 points. Like I say, it wasn't my opinion at all. It was just, I was just going off the games, the way we play away from home, the way we're setting up at the moment. I couldn't see anything other than that. I apologise if people think I was being overly negative. Just trying to be honest. I don't see what there is to be positive about at the moment. Just looking at the situation with the manager at the moment, I'm sure. I think there was a couple of weeks ago still some people who were sort of give him a chance. We don't want to be knee jerk. I keep seeing that. They be careful what you wish for. Guys, I've said it so many times. Why do you always look backwards? Why don't you look forwards? Wenger had to go. There's no two ways about that. Would Wenger be doing a better job now than Unai's doing? Yeah, quite possibly. But why are we looking backwards? Very similar to my comments on Mourinho when people are talking about him being manager. Like he's the only manager in world football available. So your choice is to sell your soul to the devil or we carry on with Unai. I don't buy into either of those things. For me, I wouldn't have. I think Mourinho would do a better job, but I can't forgive him for some of the things he's said about our club. No chance. And I don't believe we should carry on with Unai either. And this is a point where a lot of people felt optimistic. We saw changes happening in the back room. And people were starting to see that, or starting to believe, quite possibly, that these guys we've got in charge are good football men that are going to sort this stuff out. And a lot of people looking and going, well, he's been given money. Which he's been given better players, but he hasn't really been given any money. You look at the summer, a lot of us look and go, well, we spent 20 plus on Turner, we spent, a record signing in Pep, 72 million. But when you actually look at the nuts and bolts of it, we spent 13 million quid. So how much blame can we put on Unai? How much more? You guys know I called DT out on it when he first started with the Wenger out stuff. And I said, It's mate, put all your energy into Conquer out. That's the only worthwhile, protesting for me. And I feel very similar again now when it's come to this stuff with Emery. I feel like, we can get Emery out, but do you trust these guys to then go and get the right guy in charge? I'm not sure. I just don't trust them. You know, and then I've seen the comments that they've come out and made through Ornstein or whoever. You know, how much you believe they're true, I don't know, but it wouldn't shock me if they are. You know, and they've put the bad performances down to external atmosphere, you know, and called the fans noise, you know, way to ingratiate yourself towards the fan base. I mean, that's crazy talk from me. I just find it baffling, you know, the stuff with Troops and Aubameyang blaming that, you know, it makes me laugh. You know, I know a lot of people aren't a fan of Arsenal Fan TV. I'm not a particular fan of it. I think it just brings a negative vibe around the club. You know, and these guys do profit from negativity. You know, the views go up when shit goes down, not when everything's happy and rosy. So I do understand it. But then these same people are the ones that swing out of Ornstein's arse and hang off his every word, when, for me, he spreads way more negativity about the club than Arsenal Fan TV, or just as much. And I can't understand how people sort of separate the two, from one's bad and one's great, and you can't wait to hear what he's got to say. I just don't like the man particularly much, don't. You know, and they were talking about, you know, we've got winnable fixtures, but what's a winnable fixture at the moment? We don't look like we could beat. So I just can't understand giving him more games. I don't, like I say, if you look at facts and not opinion, you know, and I tweeted about and rattled a load off the other day, you know, we've had 4 shots in 300 minutes of football. That's not an overnight knee-jerk reaction to getting rid of him. This is now 18 months of pretty poor football. People say, yeah, but we went on a 22-game unbeaten run. We were in the Europa League final. Yeah, and look how it ended. We got absolutely tonked by a pretty average Chelsea side. That 22-game unbeaten run, was there any really brilliant performances in there? Not for me. I think we scruffed a lot of them. I think it was more through luck than good football. You know, and like I say, I was just looking and going, where does this get better? Keeping him in the job. And I said it now, it sort of makes me hate the club a little bit. Because for me, a lot of this has made me look at the Wenger situation. How much was Wenger to blame for stuff? You can say he was past it and he was done. But were the club really helping him succeed? And somebody said to me the other day, if the club had been giving him 100 million every window, do you think we'd have got to this point? And I honestly have to say no. I think we'd actually possibly still be quite decent if they'd have been backing him. And it's made me sympathy towards Arsenal a bit, which shocks me too. It really does. You know, because like I say, I'd rather look forward than backwards, but it has made me think a bit. And I believe we're doing the exact same to Emery now, where, you know, you guys know I've got dogs. You know, if my dog's on its last legs, it's puking everywhere and it can't walk. Well, just because I have feelings of love towards it doesn't mean that that's the right thing to do, is to keep it around. You get rid. You do the thing that's right for the dog. And although maybe you can say we don't really owe Unai anything, he's not a bad bloke. Why are we doing this to him? You know, we're basically smashing this guy to pieces now. I just don't like it. I don't like it. I really don't like it, because I find it totally unnecessary. I don't see why we're doing it at all. And like I say, where does this get better? Like, I've just reeled off those games. You know, I said Southampton would get a draw and I got hammered from it. Oh, we'll batter these at home. We got absolutely beat up by them. You know, Southampton should have been away and gone in that game. And look at the reaction to when we scored the equaliser. The goal scorer didn't celebrate, and there was hardly any fans left in the ground to cheer it. And the ones that were there, you could hear a pin drop. You know, because I think everybody got that feeling of that. Well, this now will mean the board justify keeping him a bit longer. You know, you guys know I've been saying it about Unai's press conferences, pre-game and post-game. He sounds like a championship manager trying to stave off relegation. You know, talking up Southampton like they were prime Barcelona the other day. He did it against Leicester, the same thing, talking them up like they're brilliant. You know, Leicester are playing good football, but they're not an unbeatable side. They're not one of the best teams in world football. That's how this guy's building average sides up. And you know, I've said it on numerous occasions now. Unai has lost all faith in himself. All faith in himself. I could see what his vision was when he first came in and what he was trying to do. I don't see any of it anymore. He looks like a distraught man. He looks like an empty shell of a bloke on the sideline that just can feel that the walls closing in on him. You know, and it's more of a case of when he chooses to jump than the club doing the right thing. I find that totally disgusting, because why would he jump? I wouldn't jump in his situation. I'd be hanging on waiting for that payoff. So I can't blame him for that. You know, morally, what's the right thing for him to do? Yeah, walk. You're not going to do it, because I wouldn't do the same, so I don't expect it of him. You know, so people saying, you know, got no faith in the board making the right decision, they're making that obviously clear at the minute that they're going to hang in on him. But I said what I do have faith in is our fan base, and they won't. You know, there is a lot of softies in this fan base, you know, PC United fans, but there's a lot of fans that, you know, are ready to admit that this is a long way from acceptable, a long way from it, and we do deserve better. I've seen people say, well, we're self-entitled fan base and when we're up our own arses. I don't agree with that. You know, somebody pulled me on it the other day and said, well, there's 16 other teams in the league that are in a similar situation. I get the sentiment behind that, but it's not true, is it? You know, Burnley, you know, all these other clubs, you know, name as many as you want. They're not in the same situation as us. They don't have a fan base as big. They don't have as big a global reach. They don't have as rich an owner. There is a reason why we are entitled, and I don't apologise for that at all. You know, yes, I've been spoilt, but you know, is that a reason for me to not want to feel spoilt again? And I don't feel like fans are asking for a lot at the moment. I don't think anybody's saying we need to go out and spend £1 billion. You guys know I don't correlate money to success. I think it helps, but it's not the be all and end all, because we're just not doing basics at the moment. There's clearly no real training going on. The defence has got worse since Wenger left, which I didn't think was possible. You know, the players just don't look like they know what they're doing at the moment. It's a total mess. So like I said, I don't have much faith in the board, but I do have faith in the fans making it known they're not happy, and it's in droves at the minute. It's en masse. It's not a small minority. You know, we don't really owe Unai anything, like we did Wenger, and you saw how it got at the end of that. And I also have faith in the fact that he's just not good enough. So there will become a point where these results continue to a point where mathematically top four is gone, and they will have to act. And that's the only thing I have faith in, is that they are money men. And this will all come down to money. It shouldn't, but it will do. And that's for me when they will react. When they think that top four is gone, or it's getting close to mathematically gone. Me and you guys, we probably feel now it's gone. You know, not being reactionary, but do you see us the way we're playing at the moment? Pulling 10, 12, 15, 20 points back? No, not at all, because I don't see where the next win comes from, never mind a string of results. So that for me is all I've got faith in at the moment, is that it's going to get to a point where they will have no choice but to get rid of him. Because like I say, they have full control of the club now. They don't want to sink the club. They don't. Because that's not what they got in it for. They got in it for making money. And the club being successful is how they'll continue to make money. So it leaves me feeling a bit... I just don't know. I can't understand how he's still in a job. I can't. I really can't. And I've been trying to... you know, I thought, who's available at the moment that they could see will really unite the fan base and sort of get everybody back on board. There isn't really an outstanding candidate out there at the moment. But I did think, is this why they're waiting? You know, are they waiting for somebody to come along? You know, what the club has had to say about things, you know. Like, I've blocked Arsenal's Twitter page, and that breaks my heart. That's normally a source of joy for me. But, you know... we play like shit, and then they post a video from 15 years ago reminding us what we used to be like. That angers me now. It doesn't make me feel, you know, like reminiscing about the past. It just boils my piss about how things are bad, how bad things are now currently, and that's not pleasant at all. It's not. I think a lot of Arsenal fans must feel like me at the minute, which is, you know, I said it's like family members sometimes. I love you, but I don't like you very much currently. And it makes me feel very uneasy. It keeps me up at night, and I'm sure I'm not the only Arsenal fan that feels like that, where I don't want to be hounding the club out. I don't want to be bad-mouthing the club. But what else am I supposed to do? I am not someone who will sit here and let you piss on my back and tell me it's raining, and that's how I feel the club are treating us at the moment. You know, we know that from Josh's comments before the season started, of that basically he doesn't give any credence to the fans' feelings, or... You know, he said, you know, a club that lets the fans run it is not a successful club. Well, you shouldn't let the fans run the club, but you should take their opinion into account, because they're the people that help run the club. Without any fans, you're nothing. You know, players come and go, managers come and go, owners come and go. Fans don't. Fans stay. We're in it for the long haul. We'll be here when the Kroenkes are gone. We'll be here when the Aubameyangs, the Lacazettes, the Ozils are gone. We've seen bigger, better players leave before and we've carried on stronger. So it's making me feel very pleasant at the moment. And I hate the fact that I feel this way about something I've loved for nearly 4 decades. It's been the one constant love in my life, apart from family. It's the one thing that has always, it's given me joy, and I feel like I've given it joy back, and it's just not coming back in the other direction anymore. And I feel like we're just giving Unai rope to hang himself at the minute rather than making the sensible choice. And the only other thing I can come up with the club is that their egos are that big that they are refusing to admit that they got the wrong guy. And like I said, there's no mistake in owning up to a mistake. That's the right thing to do. That's the adult thing to do. The worst thing to do is make a mistake and keep going along with it because you don't want to show that you've made a mistake. That's the idiot's way of dealing with things, and that's how I feel the club are dealing with this at the moment. It's shambolic, it really is. What are we actually dealing well with as a club at the moment? The whole Xhaka situation dealt with appallingly. The whole captain thing dealt with appallingly. We've now got players coming out and bad-mouthing other teammates and manager on social media. Coming out and blaming the fans. What are we actually doing well at the moment? I can't think of anything. I really can't. Somebody said to me that why are the players getting a free ride? I don't think they are. I think if you go and look at some of the players' social media, they're getting hammered. How accountable are they? I think they are pretty accountable, in my opinion. I don't think they should be getting away with it because, it's like I say, we're not asking them to play kabaddi or 10-pin bowling. We're asking them to play football still, and they're just not doing it. Are they playing for the manager or not? Play for the fucking fans. Play for us that pour our heart, soul, and our earnings, hard-earned earnings into it every week. Play for us. Because we know the situation with the manager. You don't have to not play for him for us to understand you don't want to play for him. We're not stupid. I don't like that, but I can sort of understand it because maybe the players are the same as us. We're all talking about not going watching to try and get rid of him. So why would the players be any different? Their only way of doing it is not playing for him to get rid of him, or going to their agent and getting their agent to go to the club and say, I'm not happy, my man's not happy. If you don't get rid of the manager, ultimatum time. And I do not like ultimatums because they get my back up. But I kind of understand it at the moment. And although I do think the players are quite accountable, I have to look at what's going on management-wise, which is look at what he's doing every single week. When was the last time we played a constant formation and a constant lineup? Stats have come out this morning. The most amount of players he's used in the first team, the most amount of changes to a formation, the most amount of substitutes before or on half-time. We're number 1 for all of them. That can't help. How can the players become consistent and perform consistently when nothing is ever the same? The environment is never the same 2 games in a row. So I do give them some leeway for that, but I don't think they're not partly to blame for this. How many of them just aren't good enough? I don't know. I've backed our players saying, well, Sheffield United don't have any better players than their equal number in our side. They don't. But God, when I watched them the other night, my Man United mate came round and we watched the game. I enjoyed it. I felt jealous watching Sheffield United. Not Barcelona, not Bayern Munich, Sheffield United. I am watching Sheffield United and going, I wish this was us. That's how far we have fallen in the last, 2 to 10 years. It is a monumental decline, and I can't see how it stops anytime soon. I don't. There's clearly just still a sort of a toxic, negative, weak mentality for me in the squad. And it worries me that we've sort of shifted a lot of the people out that I'd have blamed for that, and we still look very weak. When the chips are down, we call it a day. We don't dig in and fight. And that says to me, well, because the heart isn't in it. And like I said, I can't really blame players for that because I wouldn't want to play for us at the minute. I would only play just because I love Arsenal. Well, these players don't love Arsenal. Not in the mains. Maybe some of the academy lads that have come through, your Maitland-Niles, your Willets, maybe they love Arsenal, but our big money performers, they don't give a shit. They really don't. You know, all this kissing the badge bollocks and all. I don't buy it anymore. I don't like the phrase mercenaries, but you know, a lot of these guys are here for a paycheck. They're not here for the love of the club. You know, Ozil saying it, it just makes me, it makes my skin itch because I just don't believe it for 1 minute. I don't. Yeah, it's just a real mess, this manager situation now. I'm sure all you guys feel the same, and I'm not sure that the board will make the right decision until their hand is literally forced, and that to me says, well, we'll get a new manager. It could be the best manager in the world. You know, are we going to give him the tools to succeed? I highly doubt it. So how can we expect anything to change? You know, I said it a few months ago. If this club succeeds under Kroenke ownership, it'll be despite them. It won't be because of them. It'll be despite them, because we will have just got the right people or touched lucky and got some good players or kids coming through the academy. But it's just not good, and I can't. You know, it's like I say, I put that list of stats up to say how somebody get that list that I posted that has a press pass and ask him these questions instead of saying, you know, these boring, mundane, you know, generic questions. Put it to him. Say, look, mate, you keep telling us things are going to improve, we're going to get better. You know, he said it against Southampton. He said that was 20 minutes in that second half was the best football we've played all season. Now, if I was a board member, that is a sackable offence in itself. What does that tell you? If he honestly thinks the best football we've played this season was against Southampton, because as far as I'm concerned, that was one of the worst team performances I've seen in nearly 40 years of watching us. It was absolutely shambolic. It was disgusting. And why is nobody, you know, Josh, I love the fact that he came out and spoke a little bit, and Raul, the interview that they did with Laura in the off-season. Why aren't they doing one now? You know, we saw Edu walking down the street going to the ground. Why is he not doing that now? It's all good and well coming out and talking when things are brilliant. I'd back you more as a man and a human if you come and do it when shit gets tough. You know, same with Xhaka. You're all happy to take the plaudits when things are going well. As soon as it goes bad and we don't like you, you see your ass. And this is the same with these guys. Why can't somebody go, you know, Ornstein, use your clout, this apparent clout you've got, to go and question these guys. Now go and get an interview with Raul and sit down with him and say, mate, right, why are you still backing this manager? We've not won in God knows how long, since whenever it was, months ago. You know, we're getting by very average sides. We're creating nothing. We're leaking for fun. You know, we're more leaky than a sieve. It's embarrassing. You know, like I've said, 22, 24 points, whatever it is, in 20 odd games. It's relegation form. Put these guys, hold them accountable, put them on the spot. You know, let's get Andrew Marin or fucking whatever his name is and interview him. Paxton or whatever. Let's get somebody who will put them on the spot and get them to stand by what they're saying. Because coming out and saying it when you don't have to defend yourself is bullshit for me. It's more, you know, rich man, poor man, elitist stuff. I don't like it. You're running the club that a lot of us love massively. So come out and show that you care about us. Come out and talk and back up your decisions, because you're not doing it at the moment. You know, you're going to have a go at fans and say the external atmosphere isn't helping. Well, why would fans turn up and pay their hard-earned wages to watch this shit? Why would they? Why would they do that? And if you say, well, you're just being arsey. No, because like I just said, we've not won in God knows how long. We're getting beat by shit teams. We're not winning any points. They're all valid reasons for fans not to turn up. Now, you give us your valid reasons of why we should turn up. You haven't got any. Apart from leaning on the fact that you know we're weak when it comes to Arsenal, and because we love the club so much, we struggle to turn our backs on it for the benefit of us in the long run. You know, I keep telling you guys, if Xhaka plays, I did the same Welbeck. If Welbeck plays, I'm not watching because it's embarrassing. I've done the same with Xhaka. If he plays, I am not watching because I feel humiliated. And I said it at weekend. As soon as I saw his comments about Southampton are a very good side away from home, I just went, I'm not watching. But then when it came to 2:45 on Saturday, I made sure I was sat down and I thought, no, I love this club. I'm not turning my back no matter how upset I am. And within 5 minutes, I just wanted to throw my telly out the window. And that's what I mean. You're abusing the love of fans. You know, real stoic. You know, will back us no more fans. And although I always say they're as much to the detriment of the success of this club as people who are overly negative, I can't help but applaud them for that sort of unwavering loyalty to the club. I do admire it. I don't like it particularly much, but I have to admire it. You know, and that's what happens when you're in love. You do stupid things. And I'm just so over it at the moment. I am so over it. Guys, it's just, I don't know. I don't know where we're going. You know, there's been a lot of debate now. It seems that, you know, things are obviously, the Southampton result, you know, even though we got a draw, it wasn't good. And I think, you know, the board have to be looking at these performances, and even though they might have unwavering faith in Unai, it's got to start wobbling soon, because he's not giving them enough reasons to keep backing him. And, you know, it's funny how sort of after that game, fans have really turned now. I feel like that was pretty much the last nail in the coffin at weekend for 80-90% of the fan base. You know, and sort of conversations turning now to, are they still backing him? Who might be the next guy in? You know, and we all seem to have this is another problem, we don't all seem universal in that there's one guy out there that we would all want or get behind. To be fair, I'll get behind anybody we get in. Like I say about Mourinho, can't stand that. Well, I do like the blokes, I've met him and he's nice, but as what he said about Arsenal, can't stand him for it. But I'd have got behind him if he'd have come in. It'd have made me feel ill, but I'd have got behind him because of the benefit of the club. My own, you know, pride before a fall. But just sort of talking about managers and looking at, you know, Arteta, you know, again, his name's cropped up. And I can see why people would want him, but I can't really fully understand it. For me, Arteta was a good shout before we got Unai, because he'd have had a free swing of the bat, because the expectations were zero. You know, it was just, let's get on with rebuilding the club and a long-term project. And I think then a lot of the fans would have, you know, like I did with Unai, he's got 2 or 3 years grace for me. Unless things get horrifically bad, I will keep backing him. But things have got horrifically bad and I can't back him any longer because he's giving me no reason to. I don't see he's got it in him to fix this situation. And Arteta, you know, it's funny how people are saying no to Allegri but yes to Arteta. And I can't get my head round that. I'm really struggling to understand where some of you are coming from. And why. I don't think we're in a position now to roll the dice. I don't. I think we have to get somebody who we have expectations from. You know, I've seen people say, well, at least under Arteta we'll play good football. How do you know? What are you basing that on? It's based on assumptions. Because no one's seen him manage a team. You know, I know that there's been talk come out from City players and saying he runs training and all that. That's very different to running a matchday squad and being a manager and held accountable week in, week out. And I'm not sure. I wouldn't be against it because I think he could be a very good manager in the future, but I would like to see him do it somewhere else first so I can go, all right, yeah, I will have him in because his last 10 games at such and such a club, he won 6 and he drawn 2. So, yeah, his team play with a style and an identity and a belief. We don't know that about an Arteta team yet, so I find it very hard to understand why he'd be people's number one choice. But I do get the side of it where you're going, well, he's worked under Pep, you know, so how many teams that Pep's managed play bad football? None. I can get that logic, but, you know, saying that means he'd come in and organise his side straight away and get us playing brilliant football and winning games, I think is a serious stretch of the imagination at the moment, I do. And I sort of had a look at managers. I haven't got a standout candidate myself. I've been asked so many times over the last few weeks, Si, who would you have? Who would you pick? I can't tell you guys, I can't. I just looked at a little list and, you know, a lot of you seem, I'm looking at sort of you guys' comments and all of you want sort of, in the main, you want attractive football. I'd like attractive football, but I'd rather have substance over it. And I'd lean towards more experienced managers who are renowned for having a very well-drilled side, a very organised defence. Because I look at the attacking players we've got, and just because somebody is a defensive or is a coach who is very good at organising a defence doesn't instantly mean that they don't play attacking football. I've seen very similar comments about Simeone and Allegri about this. Negative managers, defensive football. How many Atletico, very close to an Atletico Madrid fan, I've never heard him moaning about Simeone. I don't remember a ton of Juventus fans moaning about Allegri either, because they weren't as boring as people make. Just because people see 1-0, 2-0, they go, oh, boring, boring. Is that boring? Is that really that boring? Not for me. I'd love it if we went back to winning 1-0, 2-0 every week. Absolutely love it. And I would rather have that over playing good football, because we can play good football, doesn't mean we can defend. So, yeah, it'd be great watching us score 5 goals every week. Not so great if we concede 6 every week. So I just struggle with that mentality, I really do. I think that's want over what we actually need, and I say that to some of you guys so often. Put your wants down and put the club's needs first. You know, a lot of you in the sort wanted a winger. Yeah, we want a winger, but what we actually need is defenders and a central defensive midfielder. That's what we need, not what you want. I don't know. But I looked, and you've sort of got, you know, you've got the group of young but experienced managers, your Ten Hags, your Roses, Nagelsmann, Gallardo. I'd be delighted with any of those 4, because I think they've got relevant experience, and they're known for playing good football and for organised sides. Then you've got sort of the next bracket of young managers but with 0 experience, Freddie and Arteta. I do think Arteta will be a better manager than Freddie. I'm not really sure. Well, I am basing that purely on his experience under Pep. But I'd like it to be the other way around, because Freddie's a legend. It gets me that people keep saying Arteta knows the Arsenal values. He was shit at our club. He was shit. For me, he was part of the start of the embarrassing captains. I rated him at Everton. He was dog shit for us. He was just on the same banter level as Xhaka for me. So I don't get that. If you're going to go for somebody who's got Arsenal values, it's Freddie, or that's a landslide victory. But, you know, what have we seen Freddie do yet? He did an alright job with the under-23s, but were they brilliant? No. How much of that is just down to we've got some good talent in the under-23s? How much can you actually directly accredit him for? I don't know. For me, Freddie at the moment is probably the most obvious choice. He's not my number 1 choice, but logically it makes the most sense, because you can just chuck him in now. No one's going to hammer Freddie if we don't get top 4 this year if we chuck him in tomorrow. No one. And then it gives us time to go through. That's what I don't want now. I want a new manager, but I don't want us to knee-jerk it and get someone who's not right again. I want it to be a proper process. You know, we had Raul telling us that, you know, doesn't matter about transfer windows, we're looking at signings all year round. Well, surely you should be looking at managers the same way as well. Because last season was enough to, you know, the end of last season in the Europa League final was when a lot of people said Unai should have gone. So from that day onwards, for me, the club should have been weighing up, you know, replacements. I'll be very disappointed if they haven't. So for me, the most logical, although I don't like it, would be Freddie until the end of the season. I do think it makes the most sense. Then you sort of look at the Premiership proven managers. Poch. I'm amazed how popular people, you know, the amount of people that are saying they'd have him. I think he's a better manager than Emery, but I'm not sure. I've never been overly convinced by him. Yeah, he's just not doing it for me. Then, you know, you've got your Eddie Howe's, you know, done an incredible job at Bournemouth. You know, his team play with a certain style and a verve that I'm sure he would bring to us. But then, you know, what do we know about Eddie Howe? You know, a massive club where he would be given resources. How good is Eddie Howe at spending money? We just don't know. You know, I mentioned Chris Wilder a few weeks ago and got laughed off the park. You know, I'm sure a lot of people weren't laughing when they were handing it to United at weekend. You know, and if United hadn't just turned it up, you know, 5 notches for 10 minutes, they'd have got blown away by, well, 2 world-class saves from De Gea. They'd have been 4-0 down at half-time. It'd have been game over. You know, and like I say, I was jealous watching them because they all pull in the same direction. They've got a system that they stick to. They work hard. The pressing game is brilliant. And they just because they play that way, I noticed it massively, the way that how many of their players don't ever look up. And that's not a criticism, that's a compliment. They don't need to look up because they're drilled in such a way that they know where the man is. We never play like that. All of our players look up and turn like a canal barge for 10 minutes, weighing up options because they're going, well, it was 4-3-3 last week, so we had 2 definite wingers out wide. Well, now it's a 4-5-1, so I'm not sure if. And this is the problem, I think, with the system. Until that changes, nothing's going to get better on the pitch for me. But another name I mentioned on Sonny's podcast a few weeks ago, and I said Nuno at Wolves. I couldn't understand why no one was mentioning him. And I said, I think he'd be a very good fit. He seems like a no-nonsense manager for me. He's got Premier League experience. He's spent money at Wolves. He's spent it well. He's got them playing well. I'd say they're one of the toughest teams to go away and play at. All right, they've had a bit of a shaky start this year, but they've not become a bad side overnight. And all of a sudden, he's apparently the bookie's #1 favourite. I'm not shocked. I'm sure some of you are. But if you watch these, you'd have heard me talk about him a few weeks ago. Stick with Si. Good old Si. But, you know, and then you've got sort of your elite managers, in my opinion. Like I say, people who'd have Arteta over Allegri. Madness. Absolute madness. Because it's just, like I say, based on assumptions and guesswork rather than Allegri. Like I say, people will say he's a boring manager because of Juve's results, but I don't find winning league titles very boring. I don't care if it's every game's 1-0. And, you know, I said this about attractive football over defensive substance. And I said about what mentality that gives other teams. So, like I said, if your team is winning 1-0 every week, what does that say to the other team? They turn up at the Emirates or at their games against us at their ground and they go, how are we going to break these down? How are we going to do it? How are we going to do what no one else has managed to? That's hard. That sets a real mindset and fear into our opposition. Whereas just scoring loads of goals, playing attractive football, how does that scare the opposition? It doesn't. They go, well, they're going to try and score 4, so we'll try and score 5. That's a mentality for other teams to go, we can get at these, which is where we're at the moment. So I would always go defensive over attacking. Because, like I say, I don't believe that just because you're defensively sound means you can't attack. I just don't get it. But Ancelotti is one. He's not doing a great job at the minute, but God, he's another proven winner, and he's Premier League proven. He is a real big personality, and I think he'd shift the weak mentality around the squad pretty sharpish. He's not the top of my list, but you can't overlook somebody as proven as him. Benitez, you know, people laugh, but I've said he's one of the best managers in the Premier League for a long time. So underrated. He gets so little credit for the job he's done just because he looked like the guy out of Toy Story. You know, and the fat Spanish waiter comments. He's always done an injustice for me because I think he's one of the best out there. You know, how realistic is it getting somebody like him at the moment? Probably isn't, because he's in China and we know it's crazy money over there. Why would he come to a real cauldron at the moment of Arsenal where he'd be under instant scrutiny for less money? I'm not sure he'd want to bother. But, you know, we are a big club and probably an attractive proposition. Rodgers was one I missed out the Premier League proven. People saying, well, why would he leave Leicester at the moment to go to a bigger club? That's why. I said it this morning, you know, Leicester, I've met Brendan Rodgers, he's got a massive ego. He rates himself incredibly. If you asked him who's the best manager in the world, he'd say himself. It's good having that belief, but you've got to back it up. And at the moment, he is backing it up, so you can't hammer him for it. But I said, you know, Leicester have won the league recently. They played in the Champions League. So what is there really, apart from retaining those things, and how realistic is that at Leicester? What is there really for him to go and do there? Where, you know, it's the reason why he left Celtic. What more is there to prove? I think there's much more value in it for him to come to Arsenal, where he'd go, how much would I be lauded if I won Arsenal a Premier League for the first time in, you know, going on for 20 years? If I won the Champions League with Arsenal, first time ever, I'd be a god. That to me is what would appeal to him over staying at Leicester. Plus, he'd get more money. I think he'd relatively jump at the chance to join us. But going back to, you know, the world class managers, Conte, I was a massive fan of him at Chelsea. I think he was another one who got short shrift there, and I'm not quite sure why. But, you know, would he leave Inter at the moment? I doubt it, to come back to England. But he's someone who'd be right up the top of my list. And another one who really polarises people is Simeone. I don't have any issue. I've watched Atletico Madrid a lot, and I've never felt bored by watching them. Impressed more than anything, just how good they are defensively, how well organised they are. And I like the idea of him, because I think if he came in, there'd be sort of 6 to 10 players straight away that he'd go, you know, like the bloody, what's it called, no context Hearn, you know, shit, old, boring, wank. That's what he'd come in and be like for me. Fucking load of you do one. I can't be against that at all, because I do think there's still, you know, 4 to 8 names in this squad that's just so weak mentally and they have to go. But that's sort of it from me, guys. I just, like I say, I just wanted to weigh up the whole sort of manager merry-go-round at the moment and have a bit of a think about it. And like I say, for me, really looking at those, Ten Hag, probably not realistic at the moment. Rose, maybe realistic at the moment. Nagelsmann, probably totally unrealistic at the moment. Gallardo, you know, he's just won again with them. Maybe he's quite realistic, and he's very proven. You know, I'm sure a lot of people don't know who he is, but if you watch any South American stuff, he's as proven as it gets. Freddie, like I say, for me, the only logical choice is just to make him interim at the moment, unless we can get an Allegri out of their situation. But if it's just between Arteta and Freddie, for me, it's Freddie, and we look for a proper long-term replacement. I don't think the club are even looking at Arteta at the moment. I rattled a few people saying that yesterday, but I don't. Are the club really in a situation at the moment where they could roll the dice like that? Because what are you lot going to do? If Arteta comes in and we lose the next 10 games, you're not going to not hammer him. You're not going to go, oh, well, you know, we'll play good football at some point. You'll just lambast him. And I think the board, although they're quite oblivious to fans' feelings or they just don't care, I don't think they're that stupid to go now and think we can solve this mess by getting in a guy with no CV. I can't see any logic in it. I can't. Poch, you know, maybe he would come to Arsenal. Would a lot of fans want it? I doubt it. How? I wouldn't be against giving him a chance, but I think he's, again, because he's not Eddie Houdinho, people will pull their face at it. Wilder, the same. He's not Chris Wildinho, so, you know, people will pull their face. Nuno, seen people pulling their face, but, you know, they'll openly admit that Wolves are a good team and they're hard to beat. I can't get my head around it. Allegri, he'd be right near the top of the tree for me. Ancelotti, probably not realistic. Benitez, not realistic. Conte, not realistic. Simeone, not realistic. So for me, Allegri, Nuno, Wilder, Howe, Pochettino, Freddie, Gallardo. That's probably the list I'd say we're looking at. I'd love to know your guys' opinions. I've waffled a little bit, but I would love for you guys to let me know what you think, who your choices are and why. Get them in, guys. And again, I want to get some of you on to do the next player ratings on my next one. And I do want a sort of, I've got a few people now who I know are very intelligent and talk a lot of sense about Arsenal, but I would like some of you, you know, like me, average Joes, but, you know, none of us are journos, none of us are, you know, I do have some experience in it, but not as a journalist. I'd love for some of you guys to just come on and give your opinions out loud. No one's going to hammer you for it. Come on, get involved. So drop me a comment in the, you know, in the messages underneath. Come and get involved. Once again, guys, thank you for the support. Give it a thumbs up if you enjoy the video. Give it a thumbs down if you don't, and let me know why. You know, if you just think I'm a fat-headed mank that's boring as fuck, let me know, please. You know, any criticism is constructive for me. You know, it won't get better just having people blow smoke up my arse. So please let me know, guys. Get in touch, and yeah, keep supporting. Signing out. Have a lovely Tuesday, people.